Hello again, it's Windmill Wednesday and I'm Trevor, and we're here again outside the windmill because we're not allowed to go inside. But I thought this time I might sort of try and tell you a little bit about how the mill would have worked. So we've got 6 floors in the windmill, of which 4 we can physically visit, but the other 2 are we're not allowed to visit. It's too narrow up there and too dangerous. So we'll start at the ground floor. So if you go through the front doors, this is where the grain would have been brought in from the farms, etc. And there would have been a desk and somebody to weigh off the grain as it arrived, to make sure that it all weighed correctly in the sacks, probably as much as 200 pounds per sack, one heck of a size. And then it'll be hoisted all through all the floors, all the way to the top of the mill. So on the next floor up is our museum floor. It's the second floor, and we would this is where the miller works. It's really the command centre, and above his head would have been hanging from the ceiling an enormous, great big, what is known as the giant spur wheel, full of gearing, covered in gearing, bring all the power from the sails will be brought down to that one wheel. Now from that, stone nuts would operate all the other machinery in the mill, including on the floor above it, which was where the stones were located. Okay, so on the second floor, as I say, there was 3 sets of stones. 2 were for milling grain, and they were the best stones, and they were made from French burr stone. The other set of stones was made from Derbyshire gritstone, and just outside the mill you'll see one of the stones that was the only stone that remains, and that's one that's used for the Derbyshire gritstone one, used from the byproducts and adding to other meal to make animal feed. Above the next floor, which is the highest point we can go to, was known as the bin floor. So all the grain has gone all the way to the top of the mill, above the bin floor, so the grain can be to be stored, so the grain can be fed into the mill, into the bins, to feed the stones below, and the miller below that is operating all the machinery from there. Okay, so the 2 floors at the top of the mill which we can't visit, one is where I just said the grain was stored prior to it being tipped into the bins to start the process. But above that there's a low ceilinged area known as the dust floor. Now the dust floor is there generally to try and minimise any debris that could get in through the cap. A bird could fly in, even a bee could fly in. Don't want any of that getting into the process. So the dust floor minimises that risk. And then above that, of course, we've got the cap. Now, the cap resembles an upturned boat, or looks like a wagon, and at the rear of that is the fantail. Now the fantail is designed just to catch the minimum amount of wind and freely turn the cap into the wind, so the sails are always facing the wind. If the mill wasn't working and you walk through the front doors, you may even hear it creaking like a haunted house, because the rollers are trying desperately, or the fantail is trying desperately to turn the rollers and turn the cap into the wind. Well, that was just a quick rundown as to how the mill operated. It was such a big mill and so many floors, it spread out so that the process spread out so widely. Well, that's it for today. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week on Windmill Wednesday.